Here's the thing. I've followed financial YouTubers and various figures inside of the finance space for almost a decade about various little bits of advice and, oh, let me show you this crypto project. Let me show you all this stuff. Oh, just sign up for my course and I'll teach you all these day trading tricks and whatever else. And then there's always the boomer take, which is Dave Ramsey, which is, well, pay down your debt and just put all your money inside of a mutual fund, which isn't too far off from what you should be doing. But the reality is that everyone needs to change what their perspective is on how they are saving and investing. They need to view the money that they have saved and invested not as being some goal like, oh, when I have $1 million, I can go buy a Lambo. I can go buy a nice beachfront house. Because that is just being sold to you by a bunch of fucking charlatans on the internet, such as Grant Cardone and other people that are just trying to sell you what you can do with it rather than selling you perspective with how you have to change how you view money. Instead of worrying about a goal, what you should do is just save what you can, invest what you can. Don't stress about it. Try to use mutual funds, not mutual funds, index funds and other things like that as much as possible so that you don't have to be sitting there calculating fucking PE ratios and fucking earnings and everything else like that and reading the prospectus on things and being like, oh, what's going on? And freaking out about things. You don't need to freak out about saving or investing. All you have to do is save and invest what you can. From 18 to 65, $100 a month into the S&P 500 is going to be $1 million. As long as you understand that that's a baseline and you're investing and saving more than that, you don't have to worry about your goals or anything like that. You don't have to be trying to keep up with the Joneses with whatever figure happens to be popping up, trying to sell you a bunch of fucking Lambo dreams about like, oh, well, I can buy a fast car. I can do all this stuff. Because Grant Cardone was talking about, oh, well, I'd be embarrassed if I only made $400,000. That's bullshit. You can be fine with working at a gas station. You can be fine with working at like a public school, like a teaching job. You can be fine with almost anything that is enough to be able to pay your bills. Maybe on the side, building a little bit of equity inside of something, such as a house or something that has a resale value. But as long as you are doing those things and whittling away and building equity inside of your house, building equity in everything that you own as opposed to what you owe on it, and saving and investing money so that way your money's getting a return that's higher than the inflation rate, you will do fine. You don't have to stress about anything. Now, I do have one suggestion, which is you can go absolutely balls to the wall, ape shit, between 18 and 30, and try to make as much money as possible and save as much and invest as much money as possible by just being absolutely retarded and nitpicky about what you are trying to avoid. I actually don't know if I can say retarded. I'm sorry. Mentally challenged. You can just be absolutely just special needs about this shit. And that's a different topic, actually. So euphemism treadmills and everything else like that. Every single time they come up with a new name for something that is inherently something that people look down upon, that's going to get adopted as whatever the term is. So I don't see what the issue is with saying the word retarded, because you could call them the greatest people on earth. And in a generation or two, people will be like, yeah, you're acting like the greatest people on earth. Fucking idiot. Saying shit like that. Because and eventually that'll fall out of favor and they'll have to come up with more laudatory terms that are broader or more generalized to refer to a specific thing that will eventually become exclusively associated with a lack of intelligence or something like that. But that's a different point. Anyway, you could be retarded up until the age of 30 just with saving and investing, like just going crazy about it. And then you have a good nest egg built up. And then you can do something that has been discussed a little bit by people in the FIRE community, which is barista FIRE, which is you go get a part-time job or a job that you only have to work and you get benefits like health benefits and maybe a retirement account, and you just do that for the rest of your life. And listen, that's the thing that people want. They actually want that. Imagine working at Costco or working at Walmart or working at 7-Eleven or working at fucking Starbucks and not having to worry about your bills because you have a good nest egg and a good savings built up. And you don't have to worry about your bills or anything. Instead, it's just making a little bit of extra money to cover your day-to-day expenses while you let the rest of the stuff compound without having that giant weight on your shoulders of having to rely on the job. The job's gonna be a piece of cake. It's gonna be easy. That's the only reason why people get burned out by the economy after the Great Recession, that of course every millennial grew up into, where there's a lack of jobs and fierce competition to try to get any jobs or promotions. And the only thing that's ever hiring happens to be the service industry. Well, the way you get around that is you do take the jobs that have the benefits. They don't necessarily pay as well, but you do go take those and you work those. And if you have a good nest egg built, in the background, all that burden of having to work to live is lifted off of your shoulders. And the reality is that's what people want. Another thing that you have to change with your perspective is you need to view what you have saved and invested not as necessarily something that allows you to purchase shit, and you need to view it as something that allows you to live longer or live without having to worry about stuff. You need to view, oh, I have $6,000 saved up in the bank. Now, of course, I'm going off of Oklahoma prices. There's plenty of places in the country where these prices don't apply, but I have $6,000 saved up in the bank. Guess what? I don't have to worry about rent for a year. And all you have to do is just keep building a little bit of a savings for emergencies and other things like that, and putting all the excess money into investments and stuff. And as you set an amount that you have for your emergency fund, you can just sit there and go, okay, well, I had to spend it on this. You start saving a little bit more into it while investing. And then once you're back up to that level that you're comfortable, you just pour everything back into investing so that it just keeps going up. You're getting the advantages of dollar cost averaging and other things like that. You don't have to be worrying about fucking dank trades and crazy shit. You can just go off of the return that you're going to get from a Virgin fund, like a Vanguard fund, like the S&P 500. If you're feeling a little bit spicy, like you're wanting to add a little bit of Old Bay seasoning to stuff, maybe you can do the NASDAQ 100 if you want a little bit more risk for a little bit more return. Or you can just do the S&P 500 and never pay attention to it. Holy shit. Just keep adding money. Don't pay attention to it. And occasionally open up your brokerage account on your phone, scroll through the app and be like, oh, I have this much. Wow, how convenient. Set up automatic transfers, automatically invest money into it so that you're left with a little bit at the end of every paycheck, and you can sit there and look at it and be like, well, I gotta figure out how to live off this. You don't need to be fucking door dashing everything. You don't need to be buying $600 fucking hoodies and t-shirts and fucking Balenciagas and like just random shit that you saw on a fucking TikTok or a fucking YouTube short or anything like that. All you have to do is just live with the less, save a little bit more, and invest a little bit more. Try to max a Roth IRA, try to max your 401k at work or your 403b or your 457 or whatever happens to be offered to you by your employer. Try to max that as much as possible, but concurrently be investing in either a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. If you make more money, you can just throw it in a traditional IRA because you can put more money into it. If you don't make that much money, put it into a Roth. And then when you retire, you don't even have to fucking worry about anything. You can sit there and be like, oh, I got all this money tax-free. I don't have to worry about shit. And then you can do the stupid shit when you're 65. Then you can go out and buy a classic car or the fucking Lamborghini or whatever it is that you want. you'll have enough money to go buy a fucking condo in Florida, and maybe not one that's gonna fucking collapse like in the fucking Miami condo building that collapsed a couple years ago. Maybe you can go buy a reasonable house, go retire, and be a fucking grandparent, and go enjoy your life with that. If you go crazy with saving and investing when you're young and when your body can take working hard and putting in the hours for stuff, then you don't have to worry about as much stuff going forward. And I say the age of 30 because women have a biological limit to when they can have kids. And 30 to 40 is the end of that window generally for people, unless they're using like IVF or embryos or other things like that. For men, you don't have to worry necessarily as much about it. Obviously, in my own case, I have family members. I have a family member that's a cousin of mine that had a kid at like 60. It wasn't his first kid, but he decided to have another fucking kid at 60. But you don't have to worry necessarily as much about stuff. If you go a little bit crazy before the age of 30 with locking down on saving and investing, you won't have to worry about that shit for the rest of your life. And get your expenses covered. If you live in a low cost of living state with low real estate prices and shit like that, like I used the cheat code. I moved to Oklahoma. My house was $109,000. I put $20,000 worth of repairs, so really I'm underwater for about $120,000, and my home's valued at about $186 now, after 5 years of owning it. So it's appreciated. Real estate prices nationwide have appreciated to an extent. You have to move to a place that's cheap, go find a good paying job, and go apply yourself to it, and go work hard when you're young. Shit, there's deals on real estate. There's a bunch of shit that you can look into. And honestly, I don't see the issue with buying a project or going to buy something in the hood. If you fix it up, you're the only person that's good. The hood is the value zone for real estate. No one wants to live there. But guess what? If you buy a house in the hood and you have your kid going to George Washington Carver High School or whatever the fuck, he's gonna be the valedictorian if you put an ounce of effort into raising him and educating him. Because guess what? Nobody else that's going to school with him is gonna be putting in the same amount of effort that you are. Your kid's gonna be valedictorian and they get to put that on their fucking college applications. And if you're doing a little bit of tutoring on the side, your kid's gonna do just fine. And you saved a little bit of money by buying a cheap house. You don't have to buy where the schools are fucking stellar. Now, I bought in an area that has pretty okay schools. It's excellent schools for Oklahoma standards. And honestly, I'm gonna be sending my kids to a fucking community college, and then they can go transfer to a 4-year university in-state, not spend that much on tuition. Honestly, you could get away with spending about $30,000 total, getting a 4-year degree in the state of Oklahoma if you do the community college to 4-year route with school. It'll save you a little bit of money. You could even go join the fucking military and get 4 years of college paid for and be working on a degree while you're in. Then you're not being distracted by the frat parties. Instead, you're sitting there drinking alone or drinking with buddies in your barracks and doing whatever. The military gives you an excellent opportunity to try to fucking save money, even though you've sold your soul to the United States government. But it worked out for me. I don't have any fucking issues. I haven't used any of my education benefits yet, but I can, I guess. I could have free college, but just try to change your perspective on saving and investing. It's not a fucking dick measuring contest of trying to see who's ahead of whoever else or seeing how cheap you can be or how much money you can save and how much money you can make. It's not a fucking competition. Just do your best. It's okay if you have some bad weeks. It's okay if you have a couple of bad years. As long as you are trying to do the right thing as you are going along, you can't have any regrets. And over time, you'll have relatively little regrets. That's my take on it. Anyway, y'all have a good week.